very good afternoon and a warm welcome to all of you in today's panel discussion on what would be the effects of COVID-19 on the entire industry of hotel management, travel, tourism, and hospitality management. We have great panelists here with us, and this is an amazing initiative by ABP Education. And I think we got to applaud ABP Education for what they have done. It is not only going to help all students who are looking at creating a career in hospitality management and in all of them and related industry, as well as it gives an opportunity for panelists and like what we have today to come up with their own perceptions, own ideas to work things better so that this industry can look into much higher things. Mr. Datta, you have been managing entire tour and tour operators, everything. So how do you look at it? I would say from the perspective as we were discussing, Mr. Chopra was discussing about it. How do you look at international travel or national travel for that matter of fact? Tourism industry for that matter of fact. How are you looking at the changes and how we can cope up with it?
Thank you very much. Actually, as we all know, the tourism is going through the biggest crisis ever in the history due to this impact of COVID-19. And for almost about 100 days, we are talking about survival and revival. I don't really want to discuss those horror stories again. The question is the tourism with new normal. How far it is possible to continue tourism with new normal. So for that, I would like to highlight two things. As we all know, there are two different kinds of impacts. One is a temporary impact, another is a long-term impact. It's a short-term one and a long-term one. And there are three primary elements in tourism. One is the tourist, second is the destination, and between we have the industry. That's the system. So one is the product, one is the market, and definitely in between the tourism as an industry. Now, talking about this impact, I would like to highlight one thing before analyzing the impacts. Like tourism with COVID, it certainly be a huge challenge for all of us in the industry. Tourism with the new normal, or rather I say I've been very optimistic. I would rather say it's a temporary normal. It's not new normal. Now, why it is that? Because of the restriction due to the travel and the recession after due to the impact of lockdown and all. And that leisure travel is going to be a very tough business to operate in the days to come. And you need to understand one thing. This is a phase of transformation. Now, we had phases of transformation in the past. We are having a phase of transformation right now. Now, for us here in the industry, we need to understand the transformation. Why it is we are so scared and concerned? Because this is a very quick transformation. Earlier, we had transformation say around 15 years back, 12 years back, when we have started the digital development started venturing into the tourism industry. We had a huge change, shifting from more trade specific activities in the business of tourism. Now again we are going through a transformation, but it is a very quick transformation. Now I think most of the audience here are actually from the education, they're students, and everybody is very concerned. Like them, we are all in the industry, we are also very much concerned about the impact and the future business trends and everything. So to understand the impact, we need to understand one thing. This impact will be changing, the transformation and the impact will be changing the demand in the market. Now we need to understand the change and adapt to that. And this is where we all are standing in the same platform. Be it a student, be it a person who is working in the tourism industry, we all are actually trying to understand the changes and adapt to that so that we can continue with this business further. I'll give an example, what kind of changes. This is somehow, I believe, COVID is not that dangerous for the industry, but it is the lack of information about the COVID. How many people in the industry itself they actually understand what is this. We are fighting with against an enemy, and it is like any other fight. It is very important to understand the enemy, and then you make your strategies. Like, how many people actually understand the disease? How many people actually understand the difference between cleanliness and sanitization? This is where the problem is. It is not the COVID. It is not the new normal. It is the understanding and awareness of not only the industry, but also the customer and the host community. Because
No, I
what
would
is
agree with
impact?
you.
Yeah,
Mr. Datta,
what
I
is
would agree with
impacting?
you.
Yeah, so what is impacting you? Future travel business, like inbound in outbound is not possible. Domestic, that would also be very difficult to continue because of a simple reason. People has got confusion. Once people has got confusion, they are not having confidence. The tourist is not confident about the destination. The destination is not confident about the tourist visiting. This is where we have the bottleneck. So we need to until we have a vaccine available in the market. The primary thing for everybody, I think, it is nothing to do with tourism. It is to understand the enemy. That is where I like though. The new normal is, of course, there are certain things which will be very different in the new normal, and we are going through that. The cleanliness will be having a new definition. It has to be a clinically fit service. So that is where the entire industry is focusing on, extending clinically fit service to the customer. This is what we are looking at. There are 5 things I would like to highlight regarding the impact. First of all, the cleanliness with the new definition and providing a clinically fit service. That's number 1. Number 2 is that since traveling would be restricted and more expensive, so it is expected that people will not be traveling far. This is going to be a major game changer for our industry. Like people, the change in aptitude, tourist aptitude, the changing buying nature, and the changing travel pattern will actually then see, the market is all about demand and supply. We have to create demand as per the, we have to create the product as per the demand of the market. So understand the demand, we need to understand the entire game, entire story. So this is where so traveling would be expensive, and people start traveling, they'll start traveling to the nearby destination. So
No, I would agree. Mr. Datta, I would agree with that, because Mr. Chopra also spoke about the same thing. When I look at it, it is more of domestic travel. We should focus on more on domestic travel rather than international travel. And that was what Mr. Chopra also spoke about.
No, that's I'm not talking about even domestic. I'm talking about nearby driving destinations. Okay. That is where we have to start. See, you may think what's so special about nearby. I'm thinking about weekend destination or nearby destination. You need to understand one thing. We have a bigger chunk of market who have never explored the places nearby. For them, holiday has always been to go abroad or go to long haul destination. And that is the bigger chunk of our market that exists. And this is the time to explore that market. People would love to take the car and go to the nearby destination like Sundarbans or around the places in Calcutta. So this is where we are going to start. The third is that this is very important for the hospitality industry. Luxury would be pocket friendly. It has to be pocket friendly, because when you are catering to the nearby market, you need to make luxury pocket friendly, because the market which is far away or market is abroad is not working right now. So this is a good news for the local market, and a bad news, somehow bad news for the hospitality industry. But yes, somehow this is a big piece of business. And the 5th one is certainly, it would be responsible travel would be the future of tourism. And this is something the industry needs to understand, and this is something the industry needs to update the market and the destination. This is where the future of tourism, responsibility in terms of eco-friendliness, wildlife protection, and of course supporting the communities. People, there is a change in the nature of people, change in character, and in last 90 days, and people are looking for sustainable, eco-friendly, all these things matters. So these are the changes. So my advice for the people who are actually doing tourism or starting tourism is that this is the time for the industry to revive, reset, restructure, and come back. So you hardly get this switch in your life, restart switch, you don't get it in your life. This COVID has given us the opportunity to reset things.
I
We have
agree. I
been
think
making
sustainability is going to be the key today. Sustainability is going to be the key. All right, to look at it from the perspective,
absolutely, sustainability is going to be the main.
is going to be the key.
Yeah, that's exactly. So yeah, so two things I need to understand. For thing number one is that we need to understand COVID properly, not the impact, the virus itself, the disease itself. Number one. Number two, we need to really understand the sustainability, and of course, review, reset, restructure, revive. These are the 4 R's for the industry right now to reconsider, to revive, and come back in the days to come.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Mr. Datta. On this, do you think that people, localites, to travel to local areas would be interested? Now there is also with the economic downfall and everything, money is a challenge. All right, so focusing on tourism at this point in time, do you think people would be interested to travel locally? And probably, as Mr. Chopra was saying, that when I talk about a heritage site, and which is 5-star, 7-star, whatever, and it comes with a price, I'm sure, and that would come with a price. Would I be interested to travel locally to a close by place and pay a lot of money? And with this economic meltdown I'm talking about, Mr. Doctor.
Thank you. See, travel is in our blood. So you see, like, even if you don't, it all depends on the opportunities and possibilities. Even during the lockdown, people took the opportunity to go out, even go far away and come back. So travel is all about going away from your, wherever you stay. Okay. So people will definitely traveling. People will always be traveling. That makes this industry is largest industry in the world and the largest employing industry world. Why? Because people love traveling. People will always be traveling. So no one has to be concerned about whether this industry will exist or not. Yes, we'll be having difficult times for sure. Every other industry, we always have ups and downs in our life. For this, the industry is going through a bad time in the recent past. So people will be traveling. As I mentioned earlier, people will be traveling to the nearby destination because of the simple reason. I've told you why. Because you need to understand the logic behind how this infection happens. Once people realize that what is safe and what is potentially unsafe, they will be traveling with those precautions to the nearby and then far away. This will definitely happen. So the primary focus of the industry, it has to educate the market, has to educate the host communities, has to educate the system. If everybody understands how it works, tourism with the new normal will be a new opportunity. So there are a lot of new ideas and concepts in terms of traveling nearby. Like Mr. Chopra was saying, we work with 6 such properties, tea garden properties in the hills of Darjeeling, and one in Sikkim, and then Assam and Jorhat. Yes, absolutely. These are the kind of properties which people will be looking for. Private, niche, upmarket, exclusive. One thing we need to ensure, this needs to be clinically fit. Again, coming back to this concept, idea, and the awareness.
Absolutely.
We have seven heritage stays in Bengal. We are promoting right from Badi Kothi to Kashim Bazar Rajbadi, Rajbadi Bawali. We have our own character property in Sundarban called Tora Eco Resort and Life Experience Center. That's a community tourism initiative. And the manager came to my office, then I called him at my office. I taught him it is not a rocket science. Offering a clinically fit service is not a rocket science. You need to understand the difference between cleaning and sanitization. And believe me or not, here sanitization is not exactly required. The clinic, your deep cleaning is enough to get rid of this virus. So this information needs to be passed away to the grassroots stakeholder, the service provider, even the drivers. Our drivers, they know what to use and not to use. Sodium hypochlorite is not the solution. That's a corrosive agent. So these are the information needs to be understood. Then it will start with the nearby destination. Then slowly people traveling, and then again abroad. You will be surprised to know I am getting queries from abroad. People are interested to visit India in January, even in October. And that's a good piece of news. The moment the border opens, see, there are two kinds of people. One kind is travelers, another is tourists.
Mhm.
Travelers are people who actually, if you know the difference between a traveler and tourist, travelers are actually like, adventurous people. They go ahead and like, explore places. They know
Backpackers.
everything.
Can
Yes,
be
not
backpackers.
backpackers, not backpackers. Somebody who study, understand, explore,
Right.
experience.
Okay.
Tourists are more
Okay.
people who love comfort, like, comfort. They want
True.
everything to be pre-booked,
Yes.
pre-assigned, everything safe and secure. So we will be certainly having less number of tourists, but definitely travelers will always be traveling.
Mr. Datta, I have one question for you. Give me 10 pointers. How would you look at revival of this entire industry in the next coming time?
Okay, thank you. There are two different situations here. Number one is that tourism with COVID, tourism without COVID. There are two situations. So we are keeping our fingers crossed that like the vaccine will be available by the end of this year. Once the vaccine is available, the only challenge would be to like, handle the economic crisis, the recession. Because yes, definitely this is coming back with a big recession in the long term, and people will be having very less money to travel. So again, that we are expected to be continue for next another 1 year or so. So under the current circumstances, we understand that there is no vaccine available, and we have to continue with the new normal. Now this is going to be a challenge. This is certainly going to be a challenge, but yes, we have to go forward. We have to go ahead and continue our business. So the first thing is that if you're talking about 10 pointers, first thing is that we need to understand the problem. We need to understand the one. I have been repeating this this is the third time I'm repeating this thing. Number two is that the awareness would be playing a very important role. This understanding yourself and then making others understand, this is actually would be the game changer. This everybody in the industry, associated with the industry, needs to be very focused on that making people aware. Now understanding the market demand, there is a change in tourist aptitude. People are thinking in a very different way. People are the buying pattern has changed, and it would be different in the days to come, more difficult and different in the days to come. So that this is going, that understanding the transformation in terms of demand and supply in the market. And then this is the third thing which is very important. Then creating product based on the market demand. So it is always about jo dikta hai wo bukta hai. So that's about marketing. But when you develop a product, you need to really understand the market demand and create based on the market demand. So this is the fifth one. The sixth one is that, of course, the cleanliness. Thoroughly understand the cleanliness and extend clinically fit service. Now this word has to be inside here. Clinically fit service. We will not do something extra. We will ensure that everything is safe and secure to use. Now, if this thing, I understand one thing. I have done a lot of research, and I understand that thing. This is certainly not a rocket science. It's a very simple thing, to understand. So, clinically fit services is absolutely, what is very important. Third is that is, of course, building up confidence at the consumer end. See, people will only travel when they have the confidence to travel. If you are not confident to travel with your family, you will never travel. So building up the confidence is only possible when you know your subject. I can speak without looking at anywhere because I'm very confident about what I'm talking. I know what I'm talking. So building up the confidence, it primarily depends on the stakeholders. If you ask the stakeholders, like, a few days back, some company was asking me, how do you sanitize your vehicle? And then I asked him, what is the difference between sanitization and cleanliness? Can you tell me? What are the WHO recommended sanitization is in that? You tell me. And he got confused. So somebody was asking me question about sanitization. He himself was not clear about what is exactly the difference between cleanliness and sanitization. This we need to work a lot on this. So building up, because I need to understand one thing. The person who was asking me is actually dealing with the client. Now he himself doesn't know what is the difference. How do you expect him to build up the confidence for the client to travel? And the seventh thing is that you have to build up confidence at the community end, the service provider, the local community. What happened in Diga, what happened in Darjeeling, tourists are restricted. They have been sent back that we don't want tourists. This has happened why? Again, lack of awareness. So if this starts happening in different destinations, people will not travel. You have that crisis called COVID-19, and you have also concerned about how the local people will react. This is something very important. Building up confidence at both the end, which is absolutely important. These are the basic. I can talk hours after hours about technical, theoretical, statistical data and all. But these are the basic things which you need to understand. And these are simply very simple things. And third is that, you need to prepare for the future. When you understand the entire thing, when you make strategies, based on short-term strategies and long-term strategies. So make short-term and long-term strategies. This is very important, whatever I've said, the 7 and 8 points. And finally, which is next 18 months until the recovery happens, full recovery happens. Yeah. Yes, this is the time to survive. Okay. So survival is the key to success in the industry.
So, Mr. Datta, we are talking and not talking about any certifications, any third-party certifications when I talk about being clinically fit. We are not talking about third-party certifications. We are talking
certification. Yeah. Yes, please.
Yeah, continue.
We are talking certification is a process like for skill development. If we are working on that area also, there are some SOP which has been defined by the central and state government. Now the SOP needs to be, there should be a lot of skill development program to be organized by the government and for the grassroots stakeholders, just for the understanding of this thing. So certification is part of the development. What this certification will do, they will help us to gain confidence of the client. The certificate, so we are certified. We have got those gone through this training. We have gone through the skill development program. So skill development is a new normal. So already, the process has started to do this kind of skill development program. I'm not talking about the bigger hotel, because bigger hotel, they have their own system, they have their own SOPs, they are maintaining that the branded property, semi-branded property, local properties. But I'm talking about standalone character properties, guest houses, lodges, homestays, all these people, the drivers, the guide and everybody. Development program, capacity building program on safety and safe and secure travel, clinically fit travel for them, so that it will only help us not only to increase the awareness but also to gain confidence, so that the people start traveling. People needs to travel, and then we always end of the day, it should be coming within yourself. So if you really awareness doesn't need a piece of paper.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Datta. Themselves and stay, right.